You know what? Sometimes life has this twisted way of making you face the truth at the absolute worst moment. My name's Victoria. I'm 33, and I genuinely believed I had everything under control when I stepped into that mediator's office. But before we dive into this mess, if you're enjoying what you're hearing, please hit that like button. And if you're new around here, subscribe because trust me, you won't believe how this unfolds. What I'm about to share will probably leave you speechless, but I swear on everything, this is precisely how it all happened. 7 years married to Marcus, and honestly, the man never quite grasped what I actually required from him. He was 36, constantly buried in work, and possessed this suffocating obsession with monitoring every single detail of our existence together. Always interrogating me about my whereabouts, my company, my expected arrival time, treating me like some rebellious teenager grounded by her parents rather than his actual wife. The guy was absolutely stifling, perpetually hovering with this clingy, desperate energy that literally made my skin crawl with discomfort. 2 years back, I decided to leave my career behind. I desperately needed breathing room, space to discover my authentic self beyond being Marcus's spouse and this mindless corporate machine. But did he encourage my personal journey of finding myself? Absolutely not. Instead, he began scrutinizing every dollar I used, every friendship I developed, every midnight I stayed out. The constant suspicion became utterly draining. Here's what people don't understand. When your husband remains emotionally distant and interacts with you like you're merely a housemate instead of a woman with needs, you eventually seek elsewhere for fulfillment. I'm not exactly proud of what happened, but I refuse to apologize for deserving to feel wanted and valued. Nathan connected with my creative spirit in ways Marcus never attempted. Jordan made me laugh so hard my sides ached, something completely absent from my home life for years. Tyler genuinely paid attention when I discussed my aspirations and ambitions. And Mitchell, he made me feel absolutely gorgeous and desired, not like some burden Marcus reluctantly tolerated. Were these connections crossing boundaries? Perhaps they were, but when your husband makes you feel completely invisible unless he requires something from you, you gravitate toward individuals who actually acknowledge your existence. I wasn't deliberately trying to inflict pain on anyone. I was attempting to survive inside a marriage that had essentially died years earlier. Marcus remained so consumed by his career and his inflexible daily patterns that he never recognized I was slowly suffocating emotionally. The warning signs were blatantly obvious if he'd bothered paying attention. Fresh friendships, late evenings out, suddenly caring about my appearance when leaving the house. But rather than questioning what was happening or attempting to rebuild our connection, he became suspicious and domineering, started monitoring my activities, demanding detailed explanations of my schedule, behaving like some possessive boyfriend rather than a supportive partner. I remember thinking while preparing for mediation that finally we could terminate this performance and both transition towards something healthier. I absolutely deserved the house. I'd been the one genuinely inhabiting it, transforming it into a proper home while he drowned himself in financial reports and business meetings. The condominium could serve as his compensation prize, alongside his beloved work materials and whatever other possessions he prioritized above our marriage. Walking into that bland conference room with its horrible fluorescent illumination, I felt certain this would proceed smoothly. We'd divide everything equitably, I'd receive spousal maintenance since I'd abandoned my career for our relationship, and we could both begin again. The mediator, Mr. Henderson, appeared reasonable enough, though he operated at an agonizingly slow pace that tested my patience significantly. Can we just advance to the section where I receive what I've earned? This is consuming forever, I stated, because somebody needed to accelerate the process. I mean, we both understood this marriage had been deceased for years. Why prolong the inevitable with infinite documentation and procedures? When Marcus agreed to discuss what equitable distribution resembled, I felt validated. Whispers, finally, he was going to recognize my contributions to our partnership. When he pushed that initial folder across the table, offering me the house, I couldn't suppress my laughter. You're offering me the house and retaining the condo? The gratification felt incredible. Wow, you genuinely loved me, didn't you? Something transformed in his facial expression, but I was riding the euphoria of finally being acknowledged. I did, he stated, like it was historical tense, like he'd already finished with me completely. You honestly believe you're the only person who experienced those feelings? I responded sharply, because frankly, his innocent little world needed shattering. Come on, you cannot possibly be that oblivious. You think you were the singular man who considered me special? The only one who claimed I was his entire universe? The laughter emerged again. God, you're all so predictable. Because they genuinely were. Men consistently believed they were so distinctive, so exceptional, when realistically they all desired identical things from a woman. That's when Marcus reached into his briefcase and extracted a second folder, considerably thicker than the first. Something frigid settled in my stomach, but I suppressed it. You're correct, he said quietly. I did think you were my entire universe. Past tense. He slid the folder across the table. My hands trembled slightly as I opened it, though I attempted maintaining a neutral expression. The first page made my breath stop completely. Photographs, dates, timestamps, locations. What is this? Mr. Henderson leaned closer to examine. Private investigator's report, Marcus said calmly. Documented surveillance spanning the last 8 months. 4 separate affair partners throughout the past 2 years. Dates, timestamps, locations, photographic proof. My hands were definitely shaking now. You had me followed? I had my wife followed, he corrected, and something about how he emphasized wife made it sound contaminated. When she started arriving home at midnight, reeking of someone else's cologne, when she suddenly password-protected her phone after 7 years of leaving it accessible, when she abruptly needed to work late 3 evenings weekly at a job that never demanded overtime previously. The mediator was examining pages, and his expression communicated everything. There were photographs of me with Nathan at that little cafe we frequented, pictures of Jordan and me entering that hotel, timestamps demonstrating exactly when I'd informed Marcus I was visiting my sister, while actually with Tyler. Credit card receipts for establishments I'd never mentioned visiting. This is invasion of privacy, I stammered, because this felt like a violation. He'd been watching me, documenting my every movement like some stalker. Actually, Marcus said, my attorney confirmed it's completely lawful. No expectation of privacy in public locations, vehicles, or hotel parking areas. I slammed the folder shut. The room felt excessively small, excessively bright. I want a different mediator. This is ridiculous. You're attempting to make me appear terrible. I'm presenting documentation of marital infidelity, he said in that identical, even tone, which impacts asset distribution and spousal maintenance in this state. Quite significantly, actually. Mr. Henderson cleared his throat. Misters, perhaps we should take a break and reconvene when both parties have had time to review this new information with their respective counsel. New information? My voice cracked. He's been spying on me. This is harassment. It's evidence, Marcus said, collected by a licensed professional, all admissible in court. I grabbed my purse, my hands still trembling. We're done here. I'm calling my lawyer. You're not getting away with this. Getting away with what? Documenting your affairs? You manipulative piece of... I caught myself, glanced at the mediator. I'm leaving. This is hostile. I stormed out, the door slamming behind me hard enough to rattle something on the wall. In the parking lot, I sat in my car for 20 minutes, attempting to process what had just transpired. How long had he known? How long had he been planning this ambush? The week that followed was absolute pandemonium. I called Marcus 36 times the first day, leaving voicemails that ranged from apologetic to threatening to completely hysterical. He didn't answer a single one. Every call went straight to voicemail. Every text got no response. My lawyer, when I finally reached him, delivered the worst possible news. The PI report was completely legal. Licensed investigator, public spaces, proper documentation. We had no grounds to challenge it. This destroys any chance you had of getting spousal support, he explained, and it significantly impacts asset distribution. We need to start thinking about damage control. Damage control, like I was some kind of criminal instead of a woman who'd been neglected and driven to find companionship elsewhere. And listen, if this story is resonating with you, please take a second to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment below. It genuinely helps small creators like me keep bringing you these real stories. Your support means everything. That's when the real aggressive tactics started. If Marcus wanted to play hardball, I could play too. I called his parents, informed them about his controlling behavior throughout our marriage, how I was frightened of him, how the PI situation was him stalking me because I wanted to leave. His mother called me back crying. "This isn't true, is it? Tell me this isn't true." "He's been emotionally abusive for years," I said, letting my voice break just right. "I tried to make it work, but he's attempting to destroy me now because I finally stood up for myself." I sent similar messages to our mutual friends, explaining how Marcus had been unavailable throughout our marriage, how I tried everything to make it work, how I was lonely and vulnerable when I made some mistakes, how he was now using illegally obtained evidence to humiliate me. Some people believed me, lost about 5 friends who took my side without asking questions, but the ones who actually knew us, they started asking uncomfortable questions. My college friend Jordan called. "Victoria, Marcus just sent me some kind of report. Want to tell me what's actually going on?" When I tried explaining about the emotional neglect, the loneliness, how those relationships were just me trying to find what was missing at home, she got quiet. "4 different guys over 2 years?" she asked. "And you're trying to paint Marcus as the bad guy." I escalated, told my family that Marcus had been hiding money, that he had secret accounts, that he was attempting to leave me with nothing. My mother, Patricia, showed up at his apartment that Thursday night, pounding on the door. Through the peephole, I could see her face red with fury. When Marcus cracked the door open, she let him have it. "How dare you humiliate my daughter like this?" "I haven't humiliated anyone," he said calmly. "I documented infidelity during divorce proceedings." "You hired someone to stalk her, to take pictures. This is abuse." "It's evidence collection, legal evidence collection." But my mother wasn't backing down. "She made some mistakes. That doesn't give you the right to destroy her reputation." She destroyed her own reputation by sleeping with 4 different people while married to me. The conversation went downhill from there, with my mother jabbing her finger at him, telling him I deserved better, that those men saw what he couldn't, that I was special, that I deserved to be worshipped. "Then they can worship her through their own bank accounts, not mine," Marcus said before closing the door. When that didn't work, I tried legal tactics, filed an emergency motion claiming he was withholding marital funds and restricting my access to financial resources. My lawyer filed paperwork claiming financial abuse, saying Marcus had cut me off and I couldn't afford basic necessities. The problem was, I had access to my own bank account, the one Marcus had been depositing $1,200 into every month for 2 years. $8,000 just sitting there for my monthly allowance for personal expenses. Marcus's lawyer filed a counter motion that included my bank statements, every withdrawal, every charge to restaurants and hotels, all coinciding with the PI's surveillance dates. They showed I had accessible funds and was spending them on my affairs. The hearing was brutal. I sat there explaining how I needed immediate support, how Marcus was trying to control me financially, how I was afraid of what he might do. But when the judge saw the bank statements showing $8,000 in charges for hotel rooms on the same dates as my documented affairs, his expression said everything. You're claiming financial hardship while maintaining an $8,000 balance and spending $300 at a time on hotel rooms? My lawyer tried to spin it, but the judge wasn't having it. Motion denied. Outside the courthouse, I cornered Marcus in the parking lot. You're really doing this? You're really going to destroy me over some mistakes? 4 affairs aren't mistakes, he said. I was lonely. You were always at work. I needed attention. So get a hobby, not 4 boyfriends. The coldness in his voice cut deep. You're such a self-righteous prick. You think you're perfect? Never claimed to be, but I stayed faithful. That's kind of the bare minimum in marriage. I stepped closer, lowering my voice. We know both who the real victim here is. I wasn't happy. Fine, take your precious evidence, take your moral high ground, but you're going to pay for this. I'll make sure everyone knows what kind of person you really are. Everyone already knows what kind of person you are, he said. I have photographs. When the restraining order I filed got dismissed, when my claims of abuse got laughed out of court, when every legal maneuver I tried backfired spectacularly, I started to realize that maybe I'd underestimated Marcus. The man I'd always seen as weak and controllable was systematically dismantling every argument I made with documented evidence and legal precedent. The final settlement negotiations were a nightmare. Instead of the house and long-term support I expected, I was looking at a much smaller share of assets and minimal spousal support. My lawyer advised me to take whatever I could get because going to trial would make everything public record. They're offering you 35% of the house proceeds, he explained. Marcus keeps his retirement accounts. You get $800 a month spousal support for 1 year. That's it? 1 year? I sacrificed my career for that marriage. You also had 4 documented affairs. We're lucky to get anything. The day we signed the final papers, I couldn't help myself. You know, this is just because you couldn't handle that I needed more than you could give. Those men understood me in ways you never could. Marcus looked at me, really looked at me for the first time in months. You're absolutely right, he said. I blinked, surprised. What? They understood you. They understood exactly what you are. Someone who uses people, who takes what she wants and justifies it however she needs to. They understood that perfectly. The difference is they didn't care because they weren't married to you. They didn't have anything to lose. They were just having fun with someone else's wife. His words hit like physical blows. But yeah, they understood you better than I did, because I actually thought you had integrity. Turns out I was wrong. I signed the last page with shaking hands. You're going to regret this. When you're alone and miserable, you'll regret letting me go. I'm already happier than I've been in 2 years. You'll never find anyone like me. God, I hope not. The divorce finalized 3 months later. The house sold fast, and my 35% came out to about $60,000 after closing costs. Marcus's 65% was over $100,000. The spousal support would run out in 8 months. I thought I was smart. Rented an expensive apartment in the trendy part of town, bought new furniture, a new wardrobe. I was going to show everyone that I was thriving without Marcus's controlling presence. I even invested in my friend's essential oils business, thinking I'd make some real money. But the men who'd made me feel so special during my marriage? Nathan stopped returning my calls the week the divorce was final. Jordan blocked my number when I asked if he wanted to make things official now that I was free. Tyler told me he wasn't looking for anything serious. And Mitchell, he was back with his ex-girlfriend before I'd even moved into my new place. Turns out they were interested in the married woman with a stable life and someone else paying the bills. The divorced woman who needed actual financial and emotional support? Not so appealing. 6 months after the divorce, I was working retail at a department store making $32,000 a year. My mother was helping with rent because I'd burned through most of my settlement money. The essential oils business turned out to be a pyramid scheme that cost me another $5,000. Meanwhile, I heard through mutual friends that Marcus was doing well, really well. He'd gotten some kind of advancement at work, bought a new car, was dating someone new, Sophia, a tax attorney who apparently treated him with the respect I never bothered to give him. I tried reaching out to him once, sending a text from a new number. "I know you hate me, but I need you to know I'm sorry. I messed up everything, and I see that now." He never responded, just blocked the number like I was some random spam caller. Short pause. My sister called a few weeks ago trying to tell me that maybe I should reach out again, that Marcus might be willing to extend the spousal support if I approached it right. "Don't you think you should at least try?" she asked. "You used to love him." "I used to depend on him," I corrected. "There's a difference." The truth is, sitting here in my tiny apartment with my retail job and my mother's pity money, I can see exactly how everything went wrong, but I can't bring myself to care anymore. Marcus got his revenge with his precious evidence and his legal victory. He got to play the wronged husband while I got painted as the cheating wife. Fine. Let him have his perfect new life with his perfect new girlfriend who probably never had a rebellious thought in her life. Let him have his moral superiority and his financial success and his smug satisfaction at watching me struggle. The thing is, I'm not the same person who walked into that mediation office thinking she deserved everything. I'm harder now, more realistic about what people are really capable of when they want to hurt you. Marcus taught me that the man you think you know, the man you've been married to for 7 years, can become a stranger overnight when it serves his purposes. Maybe I made mistakes. Maybe I should have handled things differently. But I'll never believe that what he did was proportional to what I did. I was trying to find happiness in a dead marriage. He was trying to destroy me completely. And you know what? He succeeded. The house, the security, the life I thought I deserved, it was all built on his stability, his income, his willingness to support me. Without that foundation, I'm just another single woman in her 30s, working retail and living paycheck to paycheck. The cats he kept probably have a better life than I do now. But I'm surviving, and that's something. I'm surviving and I'm learning. And maybe someday I'll find someone who appreciates what I have to offer without needing a private investigator to keep tabs on me. Or maybe I won't. Maybe this is just what my life looks like now. Either way, I'm done pretending that Marcus was some innocent victim in all this. We both made choices. His just happened to be more calculated and more devastating than mine. That's the real difference between us. I acted from emotion, from need, from loneliness. He acted from strategy, from revenge, from a cold desire to win at any cost. I can live with being the woman who made mistakes. I'm not sure I could live with being the person who systematically destroyed someone they once claimed to love. But then again, maybe that's just what I tell myself to sleep at night in my studio apartment while he's probably sleeping peacefully next to Sophia in whatever perfect house they've made together. Either way, it's over. 7 years of marriage reduced to legal documents and bitter memories. And despite everything, despite the evidence and the lawyers and the public humiliation, I still don't think I deserve this. Maybe that makes me delusional. Maybe that makes me exactly the kind of person Marcus always said I was. But it's the only truth I have left.